Previously on the Malazan Vlogs, I mentioned about the Teisten so the Teist Adur, the third born of Mother Dark. So is that Mother Darkness? I guess we'll have to read on and see if we can find out. But then, who is the Jag Her? Good morning everyone, it is 11 a.m. I have left it a little bit later. I actually got up at 6 to start reading. So I have had those first 5 hours reading a couple of chapters and making notes. Then reading my notes so I can come on here and do this, sounding like I know what I'm talking about. Right, if only. So, starting chapter 14, we are back in Kapistan and Gruntle, again, is still drinking. He's refusing to pay any attention to the war, and Buke is trying to help him basically stay focused, and mentions to him about Stoney and how Stoney is now getting involved. She's going to the gates or wherever and just basically getting involved with the war. And he's trying to sort of get some sort of rise out of Gruntle to protect Stoner. So far, it's not really working. He's saying Stoney's a grown woman and she can do what she chooses. So that's not kind of working in that approach. But they're also having the conversation about Brooch and how Buke has approached certain members of the camp and discussed about Brooch and his goings on and what he's doing. So people are aware, and there's other people watching him now. But we've not as yet reported that back to the prince. So people are aware about Brooch and his sorcery and what he's doing as what seems to be a serial killer. Then we're still in Kapistan. We go to Ictovian's point of view, and we're talking about his loyalty to his vows, but the conversation that he has with Cavendish, because he's Cavendish, sorry, he's watching Hettel and Caffel still in the Masked Council's chambers, performing some sort of rite or something where the bodies are, and they're not quite moving yet. And he has a quick conversation with her, and she's still of the opinion that, she got her womanly wild and she wants him, but he's quite scared, frankly, to break his vows and go against Fenner. So he has a conversation with Carandas, who gives him the point of view of, the vows aren't your chains. You are creating these chains yourself. I like how we're getting these little mentions of chains. I presume these are leading towards the house of chains when we're talking about whether it be metaphorical chains that you put in there yourself or actual chains, as in how, even though they could still be interpreted as metaphorical chains, but how the crippled god is chained to burn. So there's mention, we're sort of eking into the chains idea. So that gives Ictovian pause for thought of, on reflection, maybe I am putting my own chains there. Maybe I don't need to be so constricted in my vows. Maybe my vows don't necessarily mean what I'm interpreting them to mean. So we have that little conversation. As soon as that's done, Ictovian goes to this kind of balcony, and the battle is commencing. The Penian are imminently going to attack Kapistan. So Ictovian is kind of getting his soldiers ready. He's readying the soldiers and getting them all in the places where they need to be. So as Gruntle leaves the inn that he's in, the bar, the pub that he's in, he's thinking about Stoney and maybe the potential mistake that she's making by being where she is, and how, she's going to get hurt. And he does care about her. He's not a complete idiot. He does care about her. So he needs to go and get Stoney, and he decides to do this. So he's looking for her. He speaks to one of the soldiers, and brief conversation there, and then he goes to find Stoney, and he does find her. He finds her coming out of the battle that she's actually had, and she is a bit worse for wear. She's helping somebody else out. They have a brief conversation, and she says that some of the Panian soldiers, I'm not sure right now which ones it was because I didn't put it down in my notes, but it could have been Uderman, it could have been there's a few of them basically. They are going sort of house to house, raping, pillaging, doing all that kind of thing. And by what Stoney says, it seems as if she potentially just got raped and she got a mad up from getting raped, because she says something like, he didn't give me any recompense, he didn't give me any sorrow when he wanted to do what he wanted to do with me, so I didn't give him any. So she slaughtered the man who did what he did. That's the read I got from it anyway. I could be wrong, but that's the read I got from it. Sorry about that. And I was also wondering, when she was talking about this, has that potentially happened to her before? Is that a first time, or has this happened to her before? Because it seemed as if the reaction from Gruntle and the reaction from Stoner kind of gives this impression that maybe this has happened before, and this is why she would have this reaction as to lash out. I mean, I'd have a reaction to lash out, but because of maybe that it's happened before. So Gruntle offers her to be carried, and she sort of gives to that, and he carries her back to his place, and it's quite a touching moment, really. I don't know whether it's portraying some sort of relationship between Gruntle and Stoney to come, but it's quite a touching moment that he just literally carries her to safety. Yeah, I was touched by that moment. Then we go back to the chamber where the masked council is, and we've got Carulli. And Carulli is speaking to the council. I was trying to think of a better word for that then, but it didn't come. He's speaking to the council, addressing the council. That's the word I wanted. And he's telling them that he actually works, or is the messenger of, or is followed by Carul, the elder god Carul, and how they need to address him now as Wrath Carul. He is now part of the masked council, regardless of what they think. That is the situation, and he has a say, and he's going to have his say, but he's also throwing in the mix that, as I thought, there is an imposter, and this imposter is going to cause problems. So that's the situation with Carulli. So that, I was kind of right of the imposter. I wasn't too sure who the elder god was with Carulli, because we have that particular scene where we get informed that Gruntle and Stoner and some of the others are being watched over by wolves. So I wasn't quite sure which god it was, because I don't believe that the wolves are to do with Carul, but I could be wrong. So that's threw me a little curveball of confusion, but he's watched over by Carul. Then we go back to Gruntle, and oh my goodness, Gruntle is kicking some ass. He is making a stand. He's annoyed now with what's happened to Stoner. He's annoyed, and now he wants in on the fight. And like I said, he's kicking ass. He's basically taken over. He's taken a lieutenant to be his lieutenant, and he's roused up the people, not in the best way. I did mark it off, because it was a very, very moving moment, because the messenger goes back to Ictovian and he's burnt down one side of his face, and he's actually telling Ictovian about what Gruntle's done. And he's saying the foreigner. They're referring to him as the foreigner because they don't know his name. And he's saying his cutlasses, he's double cutlassed, and he's literally just hacking them down, and he's roused the people. But he's roused the people by taking a child as an example of what these people are capable of, and sort of displayed this child as being half eaten by these people, and saying this is what they're going to do, and you need to do something. You need to get basically off your asses and help. And it works, and the people, the parents, the men, the women, they all come out with whatever they can find tool-wise, weapon-wise, and fight. And they're actually, at the moment, succeeding. They're actually managing to hold the Panion back. So off the back of that, Ictovian makes this comment with regards to the cutlasses, the pair of cutlasses, that they could be the tusks of Fenna. And he has this kind of revelation, Ictovian, that these are the tusks of Fenna. This is the warrior sent on behalf of Fenna. These are the tusks of Fenna. So when Gruntle goes back to the soldier he spoke to before, and she's on about sharpening his cutlasses because of all what they've just done, she says, "Should we sharpen your tusks?" And he says that they're not tusks. Gruntle turns around and says they're not tusks. If anything, the tiger claws. So as soon as I read that, I had the flash to, oh, he means Treech. He means the tiger of summer. So maybe he is being aided by the tiger of summer. And later in the chapter, as you read along, it does tell you that is literally the case. So I thought I was onto a winner there. I was like, yay, I got it. Look, tiger of summer. Oh, it told me that anyway, so it doesn't really matter. It tells me that. But, yeah, so that's who is now working with Gruntle. He is what I think is the god of war. I think that he was referred to as that. So Tiger of Summer is with Gruntle to help fight the Panion. Yeah, is Treech, the Tiger of Summer, doing this in the form of the wolf that he was in when he died? I'm not sure. I'm kind of confused with these wolves and the gods, and you know what wolves are Tilan Eye and what wolves are House of Shadow. I'm getting confused because there's a lot of mention of wolves, and the wolves are over here and the wolves are over there, and I'm kind of getting confused between who's what and where with the wolves. That's getting quite confusing for me. So I'm doing an awful lot of guessing as far as the wolves are concerned. And at the end of chapter 14, we go back to Buke, and with regards to this potion that Karuli gave him, has that turned him into a soul taken? Whether that be permanent or temporary, I'm not sure. Because Karuli gave Gruntle a powder to give to Buke, knowing what's happening with this sorceress that he works for, his masters. Has this now turned him into a soul taken? There's mention of soul taken, so is that now what Buke is? And do Brooch and Beauchelane both have that element in them, that the soul takens? Because they can change form. Buke literally changes himself into a sparrowhawk, and Brooch and Beauchelane change themselves into rooks. And unfortunately for Brooch and Beauchelane, not that I think it's unfortunate, but they actually get attacked as rooks with sorcerer from the Panion. So Brooch is actually, his cape's burning as he lands back and transforms himself back to somewhat human form, and Buke finds that quite funny. So are they soul taken? I don't know. And also Brooch has taken some of the Udaman warriors, soldiers, used necromancy and brought them back. He's taken their hearts and brought them back as soldiers to protect them in their dwelling. So, you know, he's up to his old tricks again, isn't he? And they're aware that Buke's onto them. They know that Buke's following them and that is onto them. So that's how chapter 14 ends. Then we go on to chapter 15 with the beginning verse, kind of poem-like. Is this referring to the spirits of the Rahiva and how they're now with the Rahiva people? Is that what it's referring to? I know Dr. Philip Chase has said quite a few times that you need to pay attention to the poems and the verses and the chapters. So I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to decipher what it is they're getting at. So is that what that means? If you guys know, you let me know in the comments. I'm not entirely sure what chapter 15's verse is about. I think it's about the spirits with the Rahiva. I'm not entirely sure. But we go back to Whiskey Jack and the guys, Silver Fox, Mabe, Corlat, Dujek, Calor, who we all hate because he's an arse. And we've come to this sort of valley full of bones, and they are full of the Kachane Chemelay bones. They have been destroyed, and what Silver Fox tells us is that they've been destroyed by the giant wolves. Now, what I'm gathering is that these giant wolves are the Tilanai wolves. They've come and fought the Kachane Malay. So Silver Fox touches the bones of the Kachane Malay and rouses the Tilanai to show themselves, and everybody's looking at this. Whiskey Jack, Croupe, they're all seeing Corlat, they're seeing these wolves and how Silver Fox has this control and sort of way over them. And the Whiskey Jack is now realising that it seems they no longer need to protect Silver Fox. She is protected by this Tilanai. I don't think you could be protected by anything better, really. These giant wolves that can destroy the dead. I'd be alright with that. So that seems to be the case with Silver Fox. But she also tells the people that the circumstances with her mum Mabe are about to grow tense. Now, is this in relation to Croupe and what's going on with Croupe and Mabe? Croupe has given Mabe these talks that are from the chambers beneath Darujistan that belong to the Rahivi spirits. And what we find out from Kol and Mullah is that as Mabe is wearing them, when she's asleep, they glow. Now, when she's asleep, we know that Mabe is dreaming. And every time she dreams, she's dreaming of herself as her original self before having Silver Fox and before her health and body deteriorated. So, are the talks there to help Mabe, or are the talks there for another reason? We also find out in this moment about the matron of our children, that back, way back, before the Jaghurt and the Talanimas even had their beef, that the matrons were the powerful ones and they ruled over the Jaghurt. So as the Jaghurt attacked and enslaved the Talanimas, the mother of our children, or the matrons, enslaved Jaghurt. So we seem to have this constant effect throughout history of power, control and slavery through different clans and different tribes and different people. There's constantly this power dynamic of who's going to be in charge and who's going to be the slaves. So originally it was the matrons who were the all-powerful, who had the Jaghurt as their slaves. And it seems that these matrons are extremely powerful and can prevent the elder gods from coming to today's world. They can actually stop them from getting to today's world. But with regards to the Kachain Chelamet, the breed that we see now with the short tails are the new version, so to speak. The original version of the Kachain Chelamet had longer tails, and it's kind of what can only be described as an evolution, so that the Kachain Chelamet for today are able to fight and stand upright because they don't have this longer tail. That's what I'm deducing from it anyway. But we find out as well that the matrons of that time wanted to merge their magic with their children, and because the children refused, this created a civil war. And from this civil war there was an apocalyptic sorcery that happened between the children and the matron, and so the sorcery was unleashed. From the back of that, the matrons were then desperate for more power, is how I interpret it. So they went to what is now known as Morn, or the Rent, and the matrons wanted to harness the power of the gate, the realm of chaos. So what I'm deciphering from all this is that potentially we are talking about the matrons still being in control. However, I think the matrons are in control of the crippled god, and then the crippled god is controlling everything beyond that. I may well be wrong, I often am, but I do consider myself quite a decent sleuth. So that's the way my brain's working, is that potentially this entity, thing, deity, whatever it is, that has hold of Tok at the moment, that where the crippled god through the seer sent him, is that a matron? I have a feeling that that might well be a matron. But they also mention that in order for the Kachain Chelamet to be born, the matron has to breed. Now it does say with her own. Does that mean another of her form, or does that mean potentially that Tok the younger may be being seen as the living seed for the matron? Because it's mentioned as living seed, not dead seed like what we've got with the Pani and Damin, and we've got Anasta. He's the first child of the dead seed. Not that, we need living seed. It's all getting quite confusing and quite hard to keep up with. That's why I'm glad I keep such vigilant notes, and they are vigilant, trust me. It's like 2 A4 sheets of paper per chapter, because otherwise I'd just lose the plot. But yeah, that's where we're up to with that kind of thing, this matron, and how they're very, very powerful. And if they would have still ruled today, absolutely everything would have been different. I think they are this higher being that everybody keeps speaking about when they're saying, oh yes, we've got the crippled God, but we keep hearing this mention of a higher power. And I think potentially that's the matron, which is the mother, which is the influence of this whole book. Everything's to do with mother, as I keep saying. And then we go back in chapter 15 to Croupe, and we're back at the conversation where the wolves have shown up, and Croupe is talking about Silver Fox and how this is like fine that she's got these wolves, and how it's not really something to be worried about. But Brood is not too sure, and Whiskey Jack also is kind of questioning it now, like, are you an abomination? Do we need to be concerned here that you're going to turn on us? So Croupe then begins to start what I think is riling Brood. I think he's doing it on purpose. I think he actually purposefully riles Brood to get him angry. And then Brood, with every comment, is going closer and closer to his hammer. Now, we do know that Brood's hammer was gifted to him by the sleeping goddess, which is Byrne, who is trained to the crippled god. She wants out because the crippled god is killing her. But if she gets released from the crippled god, that then releases the crippled god, which could potentially cause more harm than good. So Brood has chosen to leave her chained there. But in this moment in time, his temper gets the better of him, and he whacks the earth with his hammer. Because Croupe's goaded him into it, or at least that's how I see it. So has this now unleashed the crippled god from Byrne, the sleeping goddess? Are they now unchained? Have those chains now broken? And now the crippled god is free because of Brood's actions out of his temper? Because he does seem to be looking back on that and regretting it. So I think that's kind of where that's gone. I've also had some thoughts as to, I've mentioned before that Mabe might end up being taken by the crippled god because of how she feels. But I also have some feelings as to maybe will she be taken by the matron because she's mother and what she's done. A lot of other people seem to be being possessed and housed by spirits and gods. So is this maybe where Mabe's going? The Mabe is to become a new form of matron. I'm not sure. My brain works overtime with these things. And in the next dream that Mabe has, she sees these giant wolves. And this it seems to sort of correlate with the time that Silver Fox, shortly before then, has called the giant wolves. So when she wakes and Corlat has brought her something to eat, Mabe is absolutely certain that the people around her are trying to harm her and trying to cause her issue. She's kind of losing the plot a little bit and has no trust in anyone because of the impact of these dreams and obviously what is happening with her body and how it's decaying. She's losing the plot and she thinks everybody's against her. And Corlat, to sort of prove that she's not, tells her about what's just happened with Silver Fox, which is a big mistake because obviously Corlat didn't know that Mabe has just dreamed about these wolves. So off the back of that, Mabe goes mental. She attacks Corlat. Cole and Muller have to sort of brace Mabe, obviously gently. But yeah, this is where Mabe is going. She's slowly sliding into this place of non-trust. She says about how her daughter's not even been to see her and how now her daughter wants to kill her. Clearly because of these giant wolves. Now Silver Fox clearly wants her dead and is trying to kill her and in the worst possible way, and she won't come and see her and she doesn't hold her hand, and she's in a really bad place, maybe in a really bad place. Yeah, the two bridge burners and who are watching over Silver Fox have a little bit of a conversation with Croupe. Croupe's doing his usual thing here of being a nosy Parker, trying to find some stuff out. But it seemed, I love these characters. These two bridge burners who are kind of looking after Silver Fox. They are brilliant characters. They've got a great sense of humour. Or Stephen Erickson's got a great sense of humour in how he's wrote them. But they are basically trying to be probed by Croupe for what seems like information. But they're not daft. They're acting daft, but they're quite aware of what he's trying to do. And he's asking questions in regards to what they're doing with Silver Fox and, he refers them to Dujek, and they say it's nothing to do with Dujek. We're doing it for Whiskey Jack kind of thing. He's our leader. He's the main guy. He should have actually been emperor. Lysine should have never had the throne. He should have got it. He should have took her away from it, and he should have got it, because that's what we all wanted, and we just want to follow Whiskey Jack. So I don't know what Croupe's trying to find out there, what he's trying to sort of suss out loyalties. I'm not sure what his game is, but there's always a game with Croupe. He's always up to something. But again, everybody's saying that Mabe just has to go through, well, Croupe is anyway, she has to go through her own journey. She has to find the truth and have a journey of the spirit and find within herself what the truth is. So it seems off the back of that Mabe, unfortunately, has to continue to suffer these dreams until she's prepared to face the spirits and accept what information it is that they've got to give her. Because Croupe seems to be quite certain that this deterioration is only temporary by something that he said. He made kind of a comment where it sounds as if this is just temporary. Once she allows herself to hear the truth, then things may well change. I don't know. So then the end of chapter 15 is Crone has come back to converse with Brood about what she's seen with the Panion. She tells him that, the battle has commenced, and unfortunately now the Panion aren't just attacking from the north, they're going to attack from the south. As well as that, she has seen the seer unleash sorcery against the enemy, and he intends on releasing rivers of ice, walls of ice, blistering cold, winds and storms. So there's a reason why the book's called Memories of Ice. We're seeming to be playing this part of a lot of ice, and we also learn that, or maybe we already knew this and I'm just picking up on it, that the Omtos Falan is the Warren of the Jaghurt. So there's lots of connections going on. It's just piecing them all together, and I will do that within time. It just takes me a little minute. If you guys were one to piece them together quite quick, then well done, but it just takes me a little minute to suss it out. But I will have my eureka moment. So Crone has delivered this information back to Brood, and the Warren Omtos Falak has been unveiled, which is obviously going to cause problems. And it did used to belong to the Warren. It is the Warren of the Jaghurt. So that then coincides with the essence of Jaghurt that Tok was feeling from the seer. I don't think that's Gelor now. I'm not sure who that is, but I don't think it's Gelor. So I will be back. That's chapters 14 and 15. I will be back probably a little later on today. I've got a few things I've got to do in the meantime, so I've got to jump and do that before I can continue reading. So it may be later, hopefully not past 3, because I need to start editing and whatnot of this at 3 o'clock. If I don't, I will just come back and do a thank you for watching. It may just be the 2 chapters today, but yes, that's where we're up to. So chapter 16 is next. Final vlog of the day, everyone. We had to nip out for a while there. I had some errands to run, so we've only got halfway through chapter 16, but the point that we've stopped at has given me way too much to think about, so I've had to stop because I'm going to have to think some more about what we're up to. I've just picked out parts that have interested me really in chapter 16. So we've got the brutal scene now with the Tenniscowan and Ictovian and his soldiers. Ictovian is basically surrounded by the Tenniscowan. He has a shield wall of soldiers around him, and he's in the middle on his horse. And as he's trying to deflect their attacks, the soldiers are trying to fight them, but sadly getting buried as they're all climbing over each other. And this scene kind of reminds me of World War Z. As you're reading it, it kind of reminds me of those zombies clambering over each other just to get to their target. So we've got that going, and then eventually all his soldiers around him are buried under the Tenniscowan, and Ictovian tries to fight his way out with his horse, and him and his horse are both wounded in the proceeds. But they manage to get out of this sort of circle of Tenascowry, and as they do that, Brookhalion approaches Ickovian and tells him kind of that he's sorry for being late, but Ickovian is in such a state because he's wounded everywhere, and he just seems to faint and fall off his horse. And they manage to get him to shelter, where obviously Carambas is going to have to heal him. Go back to Gruntle, and he's in a house now. They took shelter in a house, and Stoner at this point is back with him again. So they're fighting in this house against, again, the Tenascowry, because there are so many of them, and they're fighting against the Tenascowry, and the Lestari lieutenant is there alongside Gruntle, and Stoney is there as well. She's not herself. Gruntle knows this, and he can see that she's fighting out of sheer rage, basically. And they intend on going through the levels of the house that they're in to get to the top, to the roof. They're not sure of how many people they're actually going to lose in this process, but they know it's going to be quite a few. And whether or not they'll end up with enough when they get to the top is another matter. But as Gruntle is fighting with his cutlasses, the Lestari soldier is watching him, and there's kind of like a little bit of love, a bit of admiration there for just the sheer valour of Gruntle. And he actually makes the comment of, "You are Trake's mortal sword," meaning you are the Tiger of Summer's mortal sword. And I don't think he could have had a better recognition than that, really, for everything that he's done. There's very, very prominent scenes, very prominent fight scenes. As you all know, Steven Erikson is renowned for writing his epic fight scenes, and these are definitely some of them. I always find fight scenes quite hard to read, because the action doesn't play out quite as well in my head as watching it. So I find them a little bit harder to read, so I've had to take my time with this so I get the information in. So then we go back to Brookhalion, and he's in shelter with Ictovian, and the healer is going, or the Destron is going to heal Ictovian. But in the meantime, a messenger comes to Brookhalion to tell him that Rathfenna has, well, the Thrall Gate is assailed, and Rathfenna invokes the Reeve's 8th command. I'm not entirely sure what that is. I think it's maybe some sort of spell, some conjuring to open Thrall's Gate. And in doing so, what he's doing, as I've sussed from reading on, is he kneels before the hooves, and the message is that Brookhalion and his soldiers are to go there because they are to be the twin tusks of his and Fenna's shadow. In essence, I guess what that means, I've not worked this out, but I guess the book is trying to tell us this, that Brookhalion and his soldiers have to die in this circumstance. Maybe that's not it, but they do have this conversation. Brookhalion and one of his soldiers called Nilbinus do have this conversation where they say they have to die in order to prove the crime. And so they make the march to where the Thrall Gate is open, and they don't get attacked on the way there. It seems like everywhere else everything is dead now. So they go into the Thrall, and there waiting for them is the Seer Arch, is it? And like 5,000 of the Panion soldiers. And they do their best. They fight as best they can. But they're obviously taken down. They're outnumbered and they're taken down. So Rathfenna has betrayed them by desiccating Fenna's most secret reeve, whatever that is. I definitely have no idea what the reeve is. Some sort of prayer, some sort of sacred thing. And he does this to save himself. So Brookhalion, as I said, Brookhalion and his men have to die. So they go to sacrifice. They basically go to sacrifice. And Nilbana, or Nilbinus, as I can't remember, I think his name's Nilbinus, asks Brookhalion So if we die to prove this crime, who will avenge us? Who will seek vengeance for this crime? And with a smile, Brooke Hallion replies, Itcovian. Itcovian will avenge us. So as they go in there, and sadly, they are outnumbered. They've got no chance of winning. Brooke Hallion is struck down multiple times. Arrows, pikes, swords, knives. He's just basically tortured and attacked. But right in his last moments, Hood shows up to take his soul. And I think that has meaning to earlier on in the book when Hood sends Gelor, the Jaghurt, who's his herald, to Brooke Hallion and offers him his warren to escape this war and fight another day. And I think Hood showing up there is a testament to say, kind of, I knew this was going to happen and I didn't want it to, because you are the morsel sword and I was trying to save you from this. So he's shown up himself to collect Brooke Hallion's soul. Could be wrong, not sure, but that's the interpretation I get from it. So as Brooke Hallion is dying and as Hood is collecting his soul, and also as Itcovian is being healed, once Itcovian has woken up, he straight away, the first thing he sees is through kind of Brooke Hallion's eyes and where they are and what's happened and how they've suffered for this, what Rathfenna has done, this, I can't think of the word, this turncoat thing, what he's done of being the imposter and going against them as a people, as an army, as a faith. He's gone against them. And Itcovian says the words, I have you, Rathfenna, you are mine, betrayer, mine. So you know then off those words that Itcovian's first thing to do is potentially going to be to have Rathfenna judged, if not kill him himself. I think I mentioned that Carulli has now become Rath Carul, because he approached the Mass Council and told them that his elder god is Crull and he deserves a place there. And also in saying that, he did say there is an imposter among you. So Rathfenna, I was right earlier when I said about the imposter. So Rathfenna seems to be the imposter. So it's nice to know I understand some things and I get some things right. I always enjoy when that happens. But I have a few questions, because this first chapter or this first part, should I say, of chapter 16 has definitely given me some things to think about. I've been thinking back to the prologue. I've been constantly told by friends to focus your attention on the prologue. Don't forget the prologue, it's important. I wasn't sure whether that was just for the maternal aspect, but if it is, and we know this book is all about motherhood, I have a couple of questions. Let me make a statement first. When the children of the Jaghurt from the prologue were put into what we now know is the Warren of the Jaghurts, the Omtos Felor, is it? Omtos Felor? When they were put into there, the Warren that's in the ruin, and then we find out that it's actually the dwelling place of the crippled god, and it's where the poisoning is happening, and now we know it's the Warren of the Jaghurt. If I'm right in those aspects, correct me if I'm wrong, because I may well be. I may be mixing information, I do that. So if that is where the crippled god is, because I'm not sure if he's there or in the realm of chaos, but I think he's in the Omtos Felak. I think that's where he is. If he's there, and that's where the Jaghurt children went, did he then raise the children? As he then raised these Jaghurt children? And is potentially the seer, because when Tok the Younger was talking to the seer, and he was sensing those merges, those emissions of magic, those shimmers, and the double, he could see the corpse, and then he could see the seer. but he was also getting a sense of Jag Hurt. Is that one of the children? Is that one of the children that went through that warren? The Omtos Felak, or whatever the name. I know it's Omtos Fel something. Is that maybe the daughter of that Jag Hurt mum from the prologue? I'm thinking along the lines of what I've been told is the mother. You know, the mother is, and it is, the mother is a big part in this. So if that's the case, is this Jag Hurt part of the seer, or the Jag Hurt seer, the daughter that was put into this warren? I'm not sure. These are just things that this particular chapter and everything that's built up to this is leading me to the questions of. We obviously know where Memories of Ice is coming from, because literally almost everybody, their memories relate to a time of ice, and we're getting this told to us now that the crippled god has intentions of using the gates of chaos and the powers to unleash like these icy realms, these icy places. So we know that's a thing there. And as I've said, I think partway through the book, we're starting to install the idea of chains, maybe for the House of Chains. So how Itkovian thinks that his vows. No, sorry, Calendas told Itkovian that his vows were him chaining himself, rather than them being chains. Itkovian was making them chains to himself. So we are getting obviously more and more information, but it just seems to open up more questions for me, and it seems to create more of a thought process. So I'm curious if I'm going along the right lines. I'm sure you guys will tell me if I am. You always do, especially Otto. Otto always lets me know if I'm in the right or in the wrong. But yeah, that's where my thought process is, and it's just getting better. This book is just getting better. I keep having to stop. Like I said, I did go out, but I keep having to stop to discuss it, because I have to make sense of it before I can discuss it with you guys. So I keep having to stop to discuss it. But yeah, that's where we're up to. And I'm going to call that a day for today. I may continue later on, and if I do, I'll let you know tomorrow. But that's all for today. If you've watched the whole way through, I appreciate you. Thank you for that. And I hope you're still enjoying the content, for those of you that keep watching. If you'd like to tell me anything, you can in the comments. If I'm getting things wrong, please let me know. Just tell me what it is that I'm getting wrong. You don't have to correct me, or I don't mean correct me. You don't have to give me the answers, is what I mean. You can just tell me that, no, that part's not right. So I know that if I'm going down the wrong path, I know to write that thought process off. And you can also just tell me what you thought of Memories of Ice at this point, whether you enjoyed these particular chapters, and potentially hint of what I've got to look forward to, because I always enjoy a good hint session. So yeah, that's it for today. Thank you all so much. If you could like the video, I'd really appreciate that. That'd be great. If you haven't subscribed yet, just click on that subscribe button. It will notify you every time I upload, and it also gets me seen a bit further and a bit wider on the YouTubes. And if you know anyone who's a big Malazan fan and you think my content would be suitable for them, not too boring, not too moany, not too waffly, please share my videos, and hopefully we can reach more people out there and bring them into the world of Malazan. So other than that, that's been me for vlog 6, I believe, of Memories of Ice, and I will see you all tomorrow. Have a great day.